Well, during the period that I have been here, and I first arrived in 1994, I've seen remarkable changes in that landscape. It has evolved a lot, starting with the evolution of capital markets here, the security markets here. Some of the corporations started adopting good practice corporate governance because obviously they wanted to avail the capital markets. Thereafter, I think that the government started regulating, the regulations of the government and the regulatory bodies started coming up. They imposed a lot of good practice corporate governance. So today you see a number of changes, for example, how the board operates, what are the relationships between the majority shareholders and the minority shareholders, the disclosure requirements, transparency. A lot has happened. And alongside that, institutions like Hukama, Board of Directors Institute, they all started kind of educating the corporates to adopt these practices. And today we see a remarkable change over the last few years. I think that they've come a long way. That doesn't mean they're there. But directionally they're right. Some corporations, some regions, some countries here are actually better than others. But unfortunately, there is still a lot of grounds to be covered. The board of directors, for example, the structure, the composition of the board of directors, for example, we don't see that many independent directors on the board as one would see in the West. Again, the board committees, for example, the audit committee, remuneration committee, compliance, ethics committee. If you see that in UK, for example, average number of committees are 3.8, whereas in GCC we have 1.4. And these committees are very important to bring in the governance, best practices. Other area which I think we are lacking is the disclosure requirements. Limited disclosure, for example, the remuneration of the directors and the top management is not fully disclosed here. Something that you see very common in the West. Sustainability is another area which needs to be improved. One of the areas that really needs to be developed is the environment and I think ethical framework that they need to work on. Corporate governance is not just about board of directors and the relationship between the stakeholders. It goes down to the operating levels. For example, a good financial discipline. If you have a good financial discipline and you have good corporate governance, then the banking facilities become available to you. You're able to manage your affairs, especially the customer relationships better. It's all about confidence and trust. And if your stakeholders see that you have good corporate or the best corporate governance practices, then they become more supportive, they engage with you more, and the management also is held accountable to deliver if you have good practices. We at Abraaj have adopted what we call holistic corporate governance approach. We have various rules and regulations developed around Abraaj, including how the board will be operating. We have 25% independent directors, we have 25% executive directors, 50% the shareholders actually. And then we have various committees, for example, we have audit committee, we have risk and compliance committee, we have remuneration committee, we have nomination committee, all the committees that you can think of we have. We also got ourselves regulated by DFSA here because we were the first ones, in fact, regionally and internationally, I would say, to have actually approached the regulator that we want to be regulated. For the management also, for example, we have very strict rules and regulations which they have to comply with. They have to give compliance declaration every month and the like.